Okay, why don't we get going? We can begin. Bienvenidos. Les presento a Elizabeth Leonard, la directora de Research y Development para la sociedad AAAS, editores de la revista de renombre Science Magazine, entre otras. Aquí Elizabeth les va a dar una introducción sobre la familia de revistas de Science. Elizabeth, I've done a quick introduction and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am indeed Elizabeth Leonard, and it is my great pleasure to speak with you all today about science and the science family of journals, especially because I am able to present to you some information about authors across the region. Across my lifetime, I have been known to be a rather curious person. And so in honor of that in all of you, as I hope you are equally as curious in your lives as I am in mine, please don't hesitate to ask your questions throughout the presentation. And Ingrid will be monitoring the chat, and so she'll be able to ask questions of me as she sees you ask them. What I'll be going over today is a brief introduction to the science family of journals, then some information covering publication patterns within the region, within the science family of journals. And then I will go back to a deeper introduction into the science family of journals. And if there's time, share information about resources that are available through us to help you. So first, I'd like to introduce to you the science family of journals. And for us, it all began with Science Magazine in 1880. And Science is the premier global scientific weekly journal that includes news and commentary and breakthrough research. We also offer a gold open access journal that is similar in scope to Science, but without the news, called Science Advances. And a journal called Science Robotics that looks at all areas of robotics, including research and medical treatments, as well as the ethics of robotics. And then 3 medical journals: Science Signaling, Science Translational Medicine, and Science Immunology. Let me give you some background on how we work within the region and within the world. So this graph is a map of articles that have been published by AAAS Science across the world.
No mundo.
And zooming in a little bit so you can see the Americas and the Caribbean.
Américas e o Caribe.
Here are the articles published in this region as well. And you can see the legend there shows you the concentration of articles. So the darker the blue is, the more articles we have published by authors in this particular country. And the lighter the coloring is, the fewer articles we have published by authors in that country. Looking specifically at how many articles we have published in the region by journal, we've published the most within Science itself, followed by Science Advances, Science Translational Medicine, Science Signaling, and Science Robotics. And then to give you a sense of how well received the articles are that we're publishing within the region, you can see that beginning in 2012, it was a pretty respectable citations being received from those articles that has been steadily increasing up to 2020. And of course, the drop that you're seeing for 2021 is because it's quite early in the year. I'm very proud to share that the average number of citations for articles written by authors in this region is 171.98 citations per article, which compares quite well to citations from all publishers within the region, which the average number of citations is 11.47. So authors within the region are very important to us, and the articles that they are publishing are very important to researchers around the world. I also thought it might be interesting for you to see across time, looking specifically at this region, who have been our top authors. So the top author with 13 articles published is Philip Martin Fernside at the National Institute of Amazonian Research. And then you'll see that we've got our top 15 listed here. It's sorted by number of articles. It would change had we sorted this not by number of articles, but instead by number of citations. And if you're ever interested in more information about the country that you're in or about the university or organization that you represent, please do just let us know. Then lastly, I thought it might be interesting to share with you what people are searching for in our journals. And it does depend on the region what the main terms are that people are searching for. So for science translational medicine, the main terms that people are looking for or topics that people are looking for are COVID, cancer, metabolism, and infectious diseases. For science signaling, they're searching for immunology, metabolism, cancer, cell biology, and biochemistry. And for science immunology, COVID again, immunology, T cells, autoimmunity, and antiviral immunity. For science robotics, they're looking at biomimetics, soft robotics, prosthetics, and human-robot interaction. And then for science itself, COVID again, ecology, conservation, chemistry, and then last, agriculture, and the environment. And then I'm happy to say that the terms that people are searching for match very well with what the journals actually publish. As someone who worked in academic libraries for about 15 years, I was really happy to see that the terms that people are searching for do actually match with the journals. So when people are coming to our site, they are not going to be disappointed. So unless there are any questions about any of that data, I'll go into a deeper introduction of the journals themselves. So let me just pause and see if Ingrid saw any questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, actually, just Sonia, she's asking if there's any authors from Colombia in the previous slide that you show us for authors in our region.
There are a
question.
ton of authors in Colombia. So it's a really high percentage.
What?
So at the end of the presentation, if there's time, I'll see if I can bring that graph up, and then I'll see if I can hover over Colombia and show you the exact numbers. If not, I'm happy to send that either to you, Ingrid, or to Sonia. Any other questions?
No, not yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then what makes our family come together? What are its unifying traits? They distill down to the following 5 points. In order for a journal to be a member of the science family of journals, it needs to have wide appeal across disciplines. And part of that is that we're looking to facilitate discovery for researchers who don't normally interact with each other. And we're also wanting to make sure that we're removing scientific silos. The next category that distinguishes a science journal is it's published with high quality, it's ethically researched, and that it is impactful research. And then lastly, as an association publisher, we take quite seriously that the journals are able to stand behind the mission of the association and further science that benefits all mankind. So let me introduce you to Science Magazine. Science is the leading weekly journal for scientific news, commentary, and breakthrough research across all fields of science, published by an association. One of the things that makes Science quite unique and why it is Science Magazine and not called Science Journal is that the journal is separated into 2 parts, essentially. The front half of the journal is easy for the general public to read and understand, although it is also read by researchers. It is written at a level that a 9th grader can read. And the articles are intended to have broad appeal. The back half of the journal is where the research is published. And as I've mentioned before, because it is a member of the science family of journals, and because it is our flagship journal, it has wide appeal to researchers outside of their own area of specialty as well as within their area of specialty. And what we find to be true is that researchers will read the journal cover to cover, paying specific attention to research advancement that are outside of their interests normally, so that they can see if there are any connections that they can be making within their own research, or even if there's methodology that they might be able to employ within their discipline that has never been used that way before. And then lastly, we're quite proud of the fact that Science publishes breakthrough research that makes a difference in the world. Your online subscription to Science is in two parts. You may subscribe to one or both or neither. So Science goes back to 1880. 1880 through to the end of 1996 is sold as Science Classic. And 1997 to the present is Science Online. And with either or both of those subscriptions to Science, you have at your fingertips topics that range from anatomy through to the Zika virus, and including the social sciences, which is something that people don't necessarily expect when they think about science. So it's a little bit of everything. And so you're able to look at a current issue and see what might be changing the world in the future. And then you can look at the older editions and get a sense of what's brought us to this point. Just so that you get a sample of what kinds of articles we then publish. It can range to drought in the rainforest, to genomics and epidemiology in Brazil, to indigenous rights, to a discussion about the crisis in democracy and science and citizen science, to something as heartbreaking as pediatric cancer. Any questions about science? Okay, then we'll move to the next journal, which is Science Signaling. And as someone whose background was in the social sciences, I had to do some work to understand what signaling meant within this context. And it's actually about cell signaling. So this is about how cells talk to each other within an organism. That's something that's necessary in order to understand what is going on at that moment within the organism, or it's about to happen. That means that readers of Science Signaling are looking to understand how those cells communicate and interact with each other in order to gain insight into regulatory processes. This is something that is called either foundational research or basic research. And so this is the research that happens before someone says, if I understand how this works, then I know I could try to make a change or an intervention by doing the following thing. But first you need to understand what's occurring in the organism. And that's what Science Signaling presents. It's of particular interest to people who are interested in signal transduction within physiology or in disease. but it does look at all different kinds of organisms. So it's not only looking at humans. In terms of who we see our reader as being, the reader typically is a biochemist, a microbiologist, a biological engineer, an immunologist, an oncologist, or a pharmacologist. And then, of course, we also see our readers as students within any of those disciplines as well. Next, we'll move to science translational medicine. Science translational medicine is looking at research from bench to bedside and back again. And what that is that translational medicine is able to take the things that we find within science signaling, study them within the lab, which is the bench, then develop a treatment, and then the research then moves to an actual application used on patients, which is the bedside. And then it starts the cycle back over again as you learn from how a patient is responding in real life. And that's the bedside back to bench. So science translational medicine is able to connect the dots between that fundamental or basic research that's found within science signaling through to medical applications. We are including research on models of human disease that have significant implications for disease treatment, as well as reports of drug discovery and development. And then the last of our biomedical journals is Science Immunology. This one, I don't have an explanation for what immunology is. I think if the pandemic has taught us nothing else, it is how the immune system is important to us all. I will say, though, that the immune system may do more than you may think about. And so the immune system is involved in allergies, in autoimmunity, in cancer, and immunodeficiencies, in our metabolism, and in our mucosal system. It's got a really wide reader base, ranging from physicians to biologists to cell biologists, anyone interested in immunology, in transplantations that happen within your body, and within infectious diseases. And now we'll take a big change in direction from the medical journals to science robotics. And science robotics focuses on science for robotics and robotics for science. And so what that means is, under the category of science for robotics, this is where we look at how scientific theory might apply to the discipline of robotics. For academic institutions, that means departments that have physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, material science, or psychology are all interested in robotics. And then the robotics for science is more what's really being done with robotics in the world. That's where we would see corporations. And the corporations can include those interested in space exploration or even deep sea exploration, things like mining, as well as medicine and how robotics can be used in surgery, for example. I think we mentioned prosthetics earlier, so that's also part of medicine and robotics. Environmental remediation, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and then biomimetics. And what you'll see on the cover of this particular issue from January are robotic fish. So just a couple of examples for you of some articles within Science Robotics. There's an article that's about exploring underwater life with acoustically controlled robotic fish. We've published articles about biohybrid robots, including this one that's on skeletal muscle tissues. In the area of prosthetics, we've published on how they are able to create a skin-like layer on a prosthetic so that the person wearing the prosthesis is able to perceive both touch and pain. The next article is about autonomous drones and how they're being able to be used in small and confined environments. And then my favorite of all time so far is we've published an article about how a robot can learn and read a set of instructions on how to build an IKEA chair. And in this case, the researchers gave the same instructions to the robot as they gave to a couple of people, and then they timed to see who was able to build the IKEA chair fastest. Then lastly, we have Science Advances, which is our open access journal. It does publish a very wide array of the sciences, as wide as science itself. It includes new articles every week, although it is considered a monthly journal. And then this journal you don't need to subscribe to, and instead it is funded by article processing charges. Are there any questions for me about the journals? Okay. Then moving into the ways that we can support you. First is that we are about to move from Highwire to Adapon. We are wanting to make sure that the new platform is everything that you need it to be. So while a lot of our design choices have been made, there are still a few things left to be decided. If you have an opinion about things like search, please do let us know, and you can either email me directly or you can come by the booth and indicate your interest there. We also have a survey that we're doing right now at the booth. It's just a couple of questions about your preferences for search. And if you fill out the questionnaire, you'll receive a gift card. One of the things that we also do in addition to helping you use the site is to help you have resources for yourself to understand how the site works, as well as resources that you can point your researchers to. So this is a snapshot of some of our LibGuides that include a tutorial on how to navigate science and the science family of journals. At the moment, the navigating and the searching are in English and in Spanish. Although if you're interested in them being in another language, you can please just let me know and we'll get them translated into other languages as well. We also have a guide on how to set up RSS feeds for the science family of journals. That's something that you can have then embedded into your own websites so that you're able to keep your websites up to date and fresh with anything that's going on in the area of science. You can also come here for information about how to help your researchers set up table of contents alerts, as well as to get information on what remote access we support and how to get help if you need it on remote access. We've recently completed a series of LibGuides that looks at what Nobel Prize winners we have published over the years. And then we're updating this every year. And so if you're interested in helping your researchers get a sense of the scope of the journal, or if you have students who aren't sure what makes one article more important than another, you can take a look at this to see if it will help you. So we've published Nobel Prize winners in chemistry, in physiology, and in medicine, as well as in physics. So this guide helps you take a look across all of those fields. And we're very pleased that we have published Nobel Prize winners from the very, very first Nobel Prize given in 1901 to the present day. We also provide on all of our journal pages free sample articles, and these have been selected by the editors. And so if you don't have a subscription to one of our journals and you're interested in it, but you're not sure if you're so interested that you want to trial yet, you can take a peek at the free sample articles that the editors have selected. They change about every quarter, and see whether or not that helps you make a decision about the journal and potentially adding it to your collection. I hope that's all of use to you. I can open this up now for questions. I'll stop sharing so that I can go to the screen that has the information about the various countries. But if there are any questions while I navigate to that, I'm happy to take them now.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Let's see if we have some questions. ¿Tienen alguna pregunta? Si no desean realizarla de esta manera pública, también pueden utilizar el chat, como se les había mencionado, vía el booth de Science. El equipo de Science está pendiente para contestar cualquier tipo de pregunta que tengan.
I'm just going to mouse over as I go, since I'm not sure where everyone is from. And you should then be able to see how many publications we have country by country. My mouse is fighting me, hold on. And here's Colombia, the 119 articles. One of the weird things is that the Dimensions does is, rather than list a country, if the country is a territory, it lists the country under which it is a territory rather than the country itself. So that's why you're seeing France or the UK. I think Puerto Rico shows under United States, for example.
We have a couple Q&A.
I can keep mousing if you want to read me the next question.
Well, this perhaps a more general question is, what does a country need in order to publish more articles? I think this is more a general research question.
What a country needs, without thinking about where it's going to get the research published, what I find to be true in every country is funding. And the better the funding is within a country for research, and the better dispersed that funding is to researchers, the more publications that country will have. In terms of getting published within our journals, it is looking at our scope for all of our journals, and what makes the science family unique is the same as why someone would want to publish with us and why we would accept the publication. And so we are looking very much at research that will make a difference within that field that is significant. So whether that is looking at the basics of cell biology, or if it's looking at research published on COVID, it's something that's going to advance how the world works.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I have a question. Would you be able to share this this map with the team?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah.
Great. We have a couple of requests for it.
I may end up having to share it as a table. I don't know how to get it to be interactive.
Okay.
On a slide, which is why I ended up having to bring it up like this, but I can export the table and send it to you.
Great. Thank you. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'll ask everybody to head to your virtual booth and ask lots of questions via the virtual booth. Si tienen preguntas o quisieran, si quieren conocer un poco más sobre Science y toda la familia de revistas de Science, pueden entrar al virtual booth de Science. Igualmente, como lo hemos mencionado antes, estas presentaciones estarán disponibles en vivo, grabadas, disculpa, nuevamente al final del día, en caso de que tengan más información.
And I'll be there for the next 15 minutes, but we'll have other people from AAAS Science at the booth as well for the afternoon. I thank you all very, very much for your time and for your attention. If you ever do need to reach me, please do just email me directly, or you can, of course, ask ITMS your question for me and they'll forward it on to me. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo. Y como les mencioné, podrán consultar esta presentación próximamente en línea. Gracias.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you to the AAAS team.